There we go. Hey guys, I wanted to touch base real quick with all of you before house church tomorrow. We had another low count at church yesterday. Christy and I went through the membership list and just tried to, from our own recollection of who we saw and didn't see, tried to and what we knew about people's situations, tried to account for how many people weren't there. Between Christy and I, we could think of 44 of the disciples in the Central who weren't at church yesterday. That's 20% of our membership. 1 in 5 of the disciples weren't at church yesterday in the Central. And listen, I know there's a bunch of different reasons for that, and legitimate reasons. And I'm not saying 20% of the congregation is about to fall away or anything like that. But I bring it up because this is a trend that we're going towards. That this isn't an abnormal week. This is kind of how our Sundays have been for the last little while. And I bring it up because I want to put it on your heart as a house church leader for us to be as good a shepherds as we can of our group, to know where people are at. As so many of you know, when you miss church consistently for whatever reason, health issues, work, travel, whatever, various things, when you miss service, I mean, it can affect your faith. Not hearing the word preached, not being around the fellowship, not having these moments of worship to draw you close to God. It can affect your walk with God. And so as we gather for house church this week, I want to put it on your hearts to make sure that the people in your group, the men in your group for you guy house church leaders, the women in your group for the women house church leaders, that we're making sure that not only we're just staying in touch, but we're helping each other get connected to God. In the discussion for this week, I put, questions in there about how have your times with God been going? And you might very well have people who said it hasn't been that great. Feel free to challenge them to, okay, so what do you want to do differently about that? I don't think anyone is happy if their quiet times aren't going well. Feel free to have a follow-up question of, I hear you, I've been there before. I think we've all been there where we've been in these ruts, or we haven't felt inspired, or we felt overwhelmed and we've just put it off. But what's your plan to get connected with God? Because none of us want to go through our life without God. It's always better when we're connected with Him. So feel free to ask those kinds of questions in these groups. For people that can't make it, make sure we are calling them, or at least having someone in the group call them and having spiritual conversation with them. Like I said, we're trending in having about this many people not make it to church. And I know there's a number of situations, but let's be really good at being our brothers and sisters' keeper and making sure that we're still being spiritually connected so they can still stay connected to God when they miss out on services. So that's the thing I wanted to make sure to pass on to you guys. Have a great house church. And the other thing is, for those of you who were planning maybe doing something Super Bowl Sunday as your outreach event, then you probably want to get details ironed out about that. Put that back on people's minds, especially as the discussion centers around intentionally making disciples. But you guys are awesome. Please, please, please let me know if you have any questions or concerns or whatever. Christy and I are totally available to talk and all that good stuff. So love you guys. Have a great house church.